Good day to Miss Nitya and to everyone. So we were asked to create a lesson plan on the year for the students of year 3, and the time that we were given were 30 minutes and the proficiency level of pupils that I've chosen is intermediate. So students will be having mixed ability, and also the topic that I've chosen to create this lesson plan is the world around us, and it falls under the theme of world of knowledge. The focus skill on the lesson plan will be reading, and also the complementary skill will be writing. So before we get into the stages of the lesson plan, I would like to talk about the content standard. So when it comes to the content standard, by the end of year 3, pupils will be able to, when it comes on the aspect of reading, on the skill of reading, people should be able to understand a variety of non-linear text and digital text by using appropriate reading strategies. And also, they should be able to read independently for information and enjoyment. So basically, the lesson that I've chosen is about a text. There will be a text for the students to read, and they would understand the information by reading through it. It is a printed text. It's from their textbook, Get Smart Year 3 textbook. So they will be able to read through they'll be able to read the text and understand the information. And also it's a song, so it can be also said as in, they would read for sort of enjoyment. They wouldn't really read through like normal text. They would sing the song in order to understand the information. So the next one will be writing, and when it comes to writing, here we have said that the pupils will use the information to communicate with one another. So they would learn what's in the lesson, what's the topic, and they would use that in their daily life when it comes to writing, when it comes to describing someone. So that's how it works. So under these content standards, there are some learning standards for as well. So for example, the first one will be reading. When it comes to reading, we collected this content standard and learning standard from the DSKP of year 3 students, year 3 English DSKP. So the first learning standard for reading would be understand the main idea of simple short text. Understand the main idea of simple short text. So when it comes to understanding the main ideas of simple short text, pupils would make sure that they would be able to understand, because the lesson that we have is like a small paragraph. There's like 2 stanzas of song, so it's a very short text, so they would understand the main idea of the text. Okay, I'm sorry, I think I should have said what would be the topic would be. So the topic is around it's about it's about the topic is about comparative words. So when it comes to comparative words, they as they read through the text, as they read through the small short text, the pupils will be able to understand the information, because it is very direct, and it wouldn't really be hard for the pupils to find the idea of the text. Not only that, the second one will be understand specific information and details of simple text of 1 or 2 paragraphs. As I said before, even though it's a song, it discusses about animals, pupils will still be able to identify, okay, there is something different in this song. There's comparative words that they have learned before, so they would understand what's the focus of their lesson on today would be. So understanding that it's a song and it has comparative words shows that the pupils are able to understand the specific information and details, like small details of the text. The next one, we recognize and use with simple support key features of a simple monolingual dictionary. So as I said before, so they will be able to recognize and use with simple support key features of a simple monolingual dictionary. So it's a song, and it won't really be hard for them to understand. So yeah, And then the next one would be read and enjoy A1 fiction and non-fiction print and digital text of interest. So as I said before, they don't only read, they also sing the song. So it's something they do for their enjoyment and also for their interest. And when it comes to writing, the learning standard will be make and give reasons for simple predictions. So as I said before, when we are using comparative words, we are basically describing one thing or one person from another. So make and give reason for simple predictions, so it makes like students will be able to reason. So for example, if they see an elephant, they would say the elephant is fatter than a cat. Or if they see an ant and an ostrich, they would say the ostrich is bigger than an ant. So they would be these are the simple reasonings that they would be able to do from the lesson, and in a way it's a prediction. So yeah. And also as I said before, describe people and object using suitable words and phrases, so they would understand, okay, when we are seeing this person has these features, so we would describe them in this way. So if we see this object, it has these features, and we would describe them in that way. So they would understand the accurate describing way to describe things and people. And the next one would be learning objectives. So the main objective of this lesson will be students will be read aloud the given text with correct pronunciation, which is very important, because when it comes to reading, pronunciation is a key feature. They should make sure to make minimum mistakes when it comes to reading under pronunciation. So that's one of the objectives. And the next one, we show their understanding in comparative words, because the topic itself is about comparative words. So the students should be able to understand what comparative words is. And also the last one will be to use it in their daily lives to describe people and objects by using the accurate comparative words, as I said before. When they understand these lessons, they will be able to to describe things using the accurate words. It helps their language proficiency as well. So yeah, in a way, these are the learning objective. So when it comes to the language focus, there are two language focus, which is comparative words and adjectives. So when it comes to comparative words, there's words like stronger, faster, taller, smaller, shorter, and bigger. Words that end with ER. Words that end with ER is a way for us to identify comparative words in a passage. And not only that, students will be able to focus on adjectives as well. So big, small, thin, tall, strong, fast. As we can see, the comparative words, as in a root word, they would be an adjective. So there's both comparative words and also adjectives in the text. When it comes to people's prior knowledge, pupils are already exposed to this topic in these past lessons, by which they have already learned about adjectives in describing people and objects. So people are already exposed to this topic in the past lessons, by which they have already learned about adjectives in describing peoples and objects. So we can see that the students are already familiarized with these adjectives. So they are familiarized with the adjectives, but now they are learning how to use those adjectives to compare one thing from another. So that is our lessons focus, and their prior knowledge is on adjectives. So they would have know to describe things like their school bags, the things around them, their friends, and everything. So when it comes to the cross-curricular element, this plays one of the significant component in my lesson plan, because the first one will be creativity and innovation. So as I would explain the lesson, the activities that I'm going to do later, you would understand why creativity and innovation and medium of instruction is the main one of the significant components in this lesson plan. People would say that cross-curricular elements are just a part, but I think in my lesson plan, this plays a major role, and this I would say that it circulates around it. So the activity that I've chosen is to have something regarding with this, and I will explain it in the next slide. So the next one would be the teaching and learning materials that I've used. So firstly, this is the textbook of year 3, and also A4 papers, flashcards, crayons, markers, color pencils, and also worksheets. These are the teaching and learning materials that I can use, that I would like to use in this lesson plan. I will be able to provide this to the students, and it is quite practical, so that I don't really have to go these the learning materials that I've put in here are some of the things that is very practical for me to find it at my school or at my workplace or at my home. It isn't really hard for me to go out of my way to find this, so I find these learning materials quite to be practical. So now let's get into the actual lesson plan, the stage time, and how the teaching learning activities work, and also why I chose those activities. So firstly, when it comes to set induction, I would like to do set induction for 5 minutes. So on the 5 minutes, the learning activities that I have to do is teacher tries to compare things around them with accurate adjectives. So as I walk into the classroom, I would say, okay, this blackboard is quite big, and that chair is small, and your pencil box is tiny. So I will use some adjectives in order to throw some signals, or to make sure the students they would be able to, it would create an anticipation among them. And also, teacher instructs people to open to page 95, and it's the lesson is on page 95 of the textbook, and teacher asks about the supportive pictures in the text. So as you can see from the text, from the page, there is like pictures to support the text. So teacher would be able to to draw the attention of pupils to be ready for the lesson. So the reason why I've chosen this is because the rationale for these learning activities is because it creates anticipation for the pupils about today's lesson. So as I said, if I give out clues, and when I come into the class and I just talk about all of these things, students will be waiting to know what I'm actually gonna do in the classroom, and pupils will be prepared for today's lesson. So it wouldn't really be hard for them to wait. They would know what they're going to study and everything. So the next one will be presentation. So presentation plays a key point where the teacher talks and the students listen. So the teacher plays the main role here, and they sort of holding both pupils' hands. So the first one, the learning activity that I would wish, teacher and pupils sing along to the songs. Teacher would play the song. The books are being provided with CDs, and it has the song in it. So teacher will be able to play the song, and teachers and people would sing along to the song. The next one, teacher asks the people to identify the adjectives in the text. So as I said before, on the language focus, there are a few adjectives in the text, such as big, small, fast, strong. So teachers would ask pupils to identify the adjectives, and maybe pupils can underline the text in order to not lose focus. Underline the adjectives. And then teacher hands out empty flashcards to people and asks them to write down adjectives. So when it comes to this activity, teacher would pass down simple small flashcards to each and every student, and they would write an adjective that they know from their prior knowledge. Like as I said before, they are already exposed to adjectives. They are not exposed to comparative words. So they can write other adjectives such as pretty, handsome, ugly, or smart, and these types of flash on the flashcards, and they could just and then they would write on the flashcards, and people give the flashcards to teacher, and teacher would add so as I said before, if this is a flashcard that the adjective that the student have given, and teacher would put on at the back to show how it forms into a comparative words. So in this way, students will understand how adjective can be changed into a comparative words. And the last one for presentation will be teacher introduce comparative words to people. As I said before, as teacher adds the adjective and the together, it will form a comparative word. So that's how it works when it comes to presentation. So the rationale why I've chosen this activity, the reason why I've chosen these activities is to expose people with comparative words. As I said before, they do have prior knowledge to adjective words, but they do not know the comparative words. So if I do like this, they would understand that okay, the adjective that we have learned before can be changed into a different word without changing the meaning, but it in a way it can be used to describe others, and also to let them know how adjectives can be turned into comparative words that can help describe things and people around them. So they would know, okay, we can compare one another, we can compare a thing to another without using a different word. We can use one word and compare two different things together. So that's how it works. And also the last one, it is to help to create active participation from the pupils. So as they sing the song, they would be enjoying to the song, they would be singing to the song, so they would be very much active, and that would kind of give an engaging classroom vibe. So the next one is one of the most important part, which is practice. Practice should be done for 10 minutes, and during the 10 minutes, teacher asks pupils to get into pair. So teacher asks pupils to get into pair, and teacher instructs the pupil to describe and compare them with their partners and draw them on the A4 paper provided. Teacher would hand out A4 papers to each and every student, and they would ask the teacher, teacher would ask the pupil to draw their partner and describe, to compare them from one to another. So maybe from their sizes, how they look, how they act, and that's how it works. So the third one, where teacher gives pupils crayon markers to draw their partners, and teacher calls out the pair and asks them to present their drawing with the correct comparative words. So as I said before, cross-curricular elements are the significant component of my lesson plan. This is because in the cross-curricular element that I've chosen is creativity and innovation. So students don't really just read and they just write, they also draw, they also be able to to visualize things as how it is. They wouldn't really just if I just say tall, and they would just stick with the word, but they wouldn't know how tall actually is or how fat actually is. So by drawing, they will be able to create something, and they would able to understand the image. Okay, this is how fat looks, this is how ugly looks, this is how pretty looks. So that's why cross-curricular element is one of the main significant component of my lesson plan. And also, as I said before, in the cross-curricular element, there is medium of instruction. So teacher plays the role of medium of instruction. They should be able to give very accurate instruction, so the pupils will be able to understand easily what they are going to do. So by doing this, it promotes creativity among pupils to put out their thoughts creatively. So they would be able to they can draw anything, not anything they have to draw their partners, but they can draw them in any way they want. So as they are kids, so they can draw them into a superhuman, or someone from fairy tale. So this would really boost up their creativity and everything. So picture and describing things prompts critical thinking, as I said before. As they draw, it would prompt critical thinking. They will be able to connect themselves and what they're doing with the outside world and the people around them, not only the people and the things around them. So that prompts critical thinking. And also to come out in a creative way, they would go out of their way, to make something that's very creative and that must be loved by everyone. So, and also it creates an engaging environment. And then before the last stage, there is production. So when it comes to production, teacher hands out worksheets for the pupils to complete. So I will present the worksheet later. It's in the appendix. So teacher would hand out worksheet that has practice for them to understand comparative words. And after completing the worksheets, teacher would collect the worksheet, and the worksheet would be graded. And production should be done for 8 minutes. I'm sorry, I said practice. It's actually production. So production should be done for 8 minutes, and as we all know, production's main goal is to understand how far the students' understanding of the lesson, and they should be able to create something from what they learn. So by giving out answers in the worksheet, it is a way of producing what they've learned on a paper. And to make sure, the rationale why they have chosen this activity is to make sure pupils are able to master the lesson independently. So students should be able to do what they've learned without having the support from teacher. So I forgot to mention that the activity in practice, when it comes to drawing, that would be remedial, and the activity in production would be enrichment. So the last one would be closure. So when it comes to closure, teacher asks pupils to recall the day's lesson. So closure should be done for 2 minutes, and teacher would just ask them, okay pupils, what you have learned today, and they would say, okay, we have learned this, we have learned comparative words and everything. And then the next one, teacher asks people to say some of the comparative words that they learned today, and then the pupils would follow the teacher's instruction to say what they've learned. The rationale is direct. It is to recall the day's lesson, and it is also to promote critical thinking skills. Students will not only able to say what they've learned, or they can also say not newer words, but other adjectives that have already learned, and use that in order to produce a comparative word. So for the appendix, these are the worksheets that I'm going to give them. So as you can see, there are words that they have not learned in the lesson. So this will be the enrichment activity for them. So that's all for this lesson plan. Thank you.